Day 4 of creating content consistently, and today I've listed about 3 lessons that I've learned and I want to discuss them. The first one is privilege versus entitlement, the second one is obligation versus opportunity, and last one, maybe I should start with the last one. So the last one, what I wrote here is the reason many people struggle to create content online is, then my answer is the curse of being an expert. And the solution is the blessing of being a learner. And let me explain with my own life, my own experience. When I started learning software engineering, in fact, I actually started learning software engineering way before I went into pharmacy school to become a pharmacist. But I wasn't treating it as a career that it was something that I was just passionate about technology. I had discovered technology when I was about graduating from high school. I had started learning to code on the side when I graduated high school. That's when I started coding actually. So this is something that I have been doing for years, building solutions, building products. But in 2021, that's when I started resonating towards, I started thinking about possibly building my own startup in the health tech space. And to be able to do that, I needed to advance or I needed to scale up. So in 2022, I enrolled in a software engineering bootcamp to start the journey. But before I started that journey, I made a public declaration that I was going to document the entire journey. And trust me, this is when I knew that I was an absolute beginner. I had no expertise whatsoever. In fact, when I went into the curriculum where we started learning C programming, we started learning concepts like Linux, Git. These were things that I had heard about in the course of me learning over the past couple of years that I had been writing code, but I didn't know them. And I was going in trying to learn. So when I made that public declaration that I was going to document the entire journey, my whole focus was just documenting the journey. And in documenting the journey, my goal was, in fact, I had come to learn about the concept of learning in public. And I have heard about a lot of opportunities that could come up from learning in public. I remember I used to watch one guy called Kunal. I've forgotten his full name, but then he was a student at the time and he had created a course on data structures and algorithm, and that course had several views. Like a lot of people, and the comments was what got to me because a lot of people appreciated how he had broken down the concept. And when I watched it, I also could appreciate it. But I thought to myself, this is exactly the kind of person I am. Like I take complex concepts and I break it down into very simple thing for people to understand. So maybe I could do that. And he was the first person that talked about the concept of learning in public. So he was telling us about the opportunities that he had gotten. Mind you, this was when he was in university. And I remember thinking to myself, when I was in university, I did similar things. However, I didn't put them on camera. I didn't even know about the possibility of recording these things and putting them on camera. But then I started the IT committee and I taught people how to do these things. So I was motivated to give it a try and I went down the rabbit hole trying to figure out how do people learn in public. And eventually I decided that, oh, I was going to use X at the time, it was called Twitter. I was going to use Twitter to do the public documentation. That every single thing I learned, what I'm learning, the challenges, the lesson, I'd keep posting them on X every single day. Then I also created blog posts, I created YouTube videos, I hosted live sessions. In fact, I created a Twitch account and I was doing live streams on Twitch as well. So by doing that, the point is that I could show up every single day and I wasn't scared of anything. Like I wasn't scared of judgment or people saying bad things to me. Yes, it could happen, but then I wasn't scared because I'm a learner. I'm not posing to be an expert. So even if I got it wrong, like everybody will understand that, oh, he's just a learner. And trust me, like there are a lot of things that now I go back and watch some of the videos and some of the explanations that I gave during my live stream. It's not necessarily the right explanation, but at least in that moment, that was my understanding of it, and it helped me, right? And I got people who reached out and corrected me. I learned a ton from people. However, fast forward to 2 years into it, like I've already graduated my boot camp. I have been employed and I'm working as a software engineer. And now I am dreading creating content. And that's so much of an irony because now that I know more, I'm dreading putting out content. But when I didn't know, I was okay putting out content. So that's why I said the curse of being an expert. Because now I'm in my head knowing that people expect me to know. So if I put anything out there that was wrong, people were going to judge me. People were going to say all sort of things, and it will come off as if I don't know the things that I say I know. Maybe I am just an imposter, right? And because I am in my own head thinking that I'm supposed to be an expert, it makes creating the content so difficult. So I would sporadically create content like once in a blue moon, then I would record one video. And trust me, like the videos that I did are really helpful. People reach out, you see the comments in the videos, it's just motivating. But in as much as that was motivating, seeing myself as an expert didn't help me. And the reason it didn't help me because I was teaching a lot of students at the time. When you are teaching students, it's different from when you're creating content publicly. Let me explain how I feel about this. When I'm teaching students, these students are incentivized to listen to me. They are obliged to listen to me. Even if they have diverse opinion, they would come and ask me directly and I'll defend my point or go find out and learn. And trust me, like I'm open to learning. However, when it comes to creating content in the public, like you know that the mob can come after you anytime. The mob can be incentivized to bring you down, to bring your morale down. So if you assume the position of an expert, then it becomes so challenging to keep up because you always want to show up perfectly. It means that there's no room for mistakes, and because of that, we end up not creating. So once again, let me read it. I said the reason many people struggle to create content online is the curse of an expert. So you assume that everything that you put out there has to be correct, it has to be accurate, and then everybody has to agree with it. In fact, if somebody doesn't agree with what you said, then probably they are just out for you or out for a battle. And for that reason, if you are going to put anything out there that you are not 100% sure, then you don't put it out there. So contrasting these two scenarios, when I was an absolute beginner and I didn't really worry about what others were going to say, I could create content consistently. And when I thought that I knew this thing and the world expects me to be an expert, that became very difficult. It is one of the reasons why I've decided to do this kind of videos where I share my opinion, I think out loud and learn out loud. I'm allowed to fail, I'm allowed to be wrong, and I'm allowed to learn. Like I'm not an expert. Even if I'm an expert, the expert still learns. And that is the lesson that I'm learning the hard way. And I hope that if you come across this video, if you are watching this video, you take that lesson with you. That if you want to consistently create content, get out of your own head and don't assume the position of being an expert. Because once you take up that position, remember, even if you're an expert, you still have to learn the things that you have to learn. If you're an expert, it doesn't mean you are the only one who knows the thing. And maybe your understanding of that thing is not necessarily the complete picture. And someone else may be able to contribute to that understanding that you have. And if somebody shares a different opinion than what you have, it is not necessarily saying that you are an imposter. So yes, you might feel that, oh, if I am not 100% sure about it, then maybe I am not as qualified as I am. But instead of now seeing yourself as an expert who is expected to be right all the time, what you're going to do is start seeing yourself as a learner. Like you are a learner, the world is your classroom. And every single time, you have to be a learner until the day you die. Because there's always something new, there's always something to learn, there's something to relearn. In fact, I say there are three things that you need to do constantly. You need to learn new things, you need to relearn some of the old things, and you need to unlearn some of the things that you've learned already. So you learn, you relearn, you unlearn, and that makes you a beginner for life. Think about that and don't pose it as an expert. I mean, you can, if you're an expert, you can pose it as an expert, but if it is going to prevent you from doing the very thing that you love to do, then you want to take the advice. I am giving this advice to myself that I have to make sure that I enjoy the blessing of being a learner. I'm allowed to make mistakes and learn from it. Now let's go to the first one, privilege versus entitlement. So that is also one lesson that I hadn't really thought about it that way. But there's this YouTuber from Ghana called Woody Maya. He's, I think, one of the, if you like greatest YouTubers in Africa, or I think probably the biggest YouTuber from Africa. And Widimaya was asked the question about how do you feel about friends and family always being entitled and calling you and asking for things. And his answer kind of shocked me. He said, no, that's not entitlement. That is privilege. Like, you should be grateful that you have the privilege that others are even thinking about reaching out to you for things. And it challenged how I thought about my life. See, I have always wanted my life to be about impact, about helping people, right? But there came a time, especially when I started growing an online presence. Like I was getting so much messages. Everybody is reaching out. Everybody needs some of your time. Like somebody wants you to come and teach them something, and even though you're organizing sessions, they will not show up, but they want you to do a one-on-one with them. And of course, it's not scalable. But then there came a time when I started resenting some of these things. Like, wow, what do they think? Why would you say that? Like, you are feeling entitled, right? That is how I felt. So when I heard Widimaya say that, I started thinking about it differently. That it is actually, I'm fortunate that people value my opinion to an extent that they want to reach out to me to teach them. And not everybody gets that privilege. So instead of seeing it as a bad thing that people are entitled and they are asking you for things, you have to begin to see it as a privilege that you have gotten. Not everybody gets that privilege. So cherish it whilst it lasts. And that is one lesson that I'm teaching myself as well. That indeed, whatever you are, like sometimes the situation is really bad. I can say very horrifying stories about my life, but then even in the darkest of moments, like there are still people in this world who would potentially do almost anything for the life that you have. They would do everything in order to get the life that you have. So we know that we all want more. Like human needs are insatiable. You would definitely want more, irrespective of where you are right now, and you might probably even see yourself as a failure. Like irrespective of what you achieve, you still feel like there's more you could have done, there's more you could have achieved and all. But what I'm trying to say is that in whatever capacity you find yourself right now, in whatever place or position you find yourself right now, it is a privilege. And you need to be aware of the privilege. And I didn't add this, but let me add it here. Fred Swanika, the CEO of the LG, founder and CEO of the LG Group, that's the ALS Africa, Sun Technologies, all of those companies are under him. He said one thing, that this we need to justify the privilege that we have. So the privilege that you have, one, you are alive. You have a privilege. It's not everybody that got that privilege to be alive, right? When you say you have a privilege, it means you have gotten something that others do not have. And this can be anything. So life that you have, you are breathing, someone is struggling. And of course, you don't want to compare your life with others and think that you have succeeded because you are better off than someone. But what you really need to understand is that whatever situation you find yourself in, you are privileged. And we need to justify our privilege by doing hard things. Since the only way for us to justify our privilege is by solving the world's biggest problems. So for me now, when I think about things, that's how I think about it. Like I really am privileged. I got the opportunity to study pharmacy, get a job after doing pharmacy. I got the opportunity to transition into software engineering, get a job after getting into software engineering. I got the opportunity to transition into digital health. I got the opportunity to build my own startup. Like all of these things are privileges that I have, and I need to cherish them. And in response to that, to justify these privileges that I have gotten, I am looking at solving some of the biggest problems in the world. But for me as an individual, it's about helping people, living a life of impact. So I would record these videos, share the lessons that I'm learning, and hoping that someone else comes across it and they also learn something from it. So that is privilege versus entitlement. Now let's talk about the last thing, obligation versus opportunity. And this one, I picked it from an interview that recently was done by Alex Homozy and Tony Robbins. So Alex Homozy was interviewing Tony Robbins, and if you haven't watched that, I believe that everybody should watch that particular interview. Like it's available on Alex Homozy's YouTube channel. So definitely spend some time. I have watched it twice, and there are golden nuggets in there. But one of them that I picked from it is obligation versus opportunity. So if you watch that interview, you'd understand that unless somebody says something about feeling that he's obliged to do these things, like it's duty for him to do these things, then Tony Robbins flipped it around. Like the way you see the world, the way you see the things that you are currently doing, like for instance, creating this video or showing up every single day and creating content, if I see it as an obligation, there is some form of resentment. Obligation means that I have no choice, I have to do it. Like I have to. It's like I have no choice. I just have to wake up every single day and make sure I record a video. I have to wake up every day and make sure I do this. So the moment anything that you are doing becomes an obligation, there is some form of resentment behind that. So what you want to really do is to move your mindset from being obliged to do things to being opportuned to do things. So it's an opportunity that you have gotten. So I get to record videos. See, there are a lot of people who wish they have the ability to. There are a lot of people who wish they had the camera. There are a lot of people who wish they had people who would watch them. There are a lot of people who wish they had almost anything that you have and can think about. Even your job that you're complaining about, it's bad, it's not paying you well, all of those things, right? But then there are a lot of people who wish they had it. So when you think about it as an obligation, I have to do it, then you don't feel too good about it. But if you want to enjoy life, you need to feel good about the things that you do. So you want to change your mindset from I have to do this to I get to do this. And I'm giving credit where credit is due. I got this from watching that interview where it was more like a coaching call. That's how I saw it. Like, and I think that it is one interview that challenged a lot of the things that I think about, right? Because most times when you see successful people, You see them and you think that everything is well with everyone, they have life figured out. But when they show that kind of vulnerability Alex Moses showed in that interview, that's when it hits you and you come to understand that, okay, everyone has the level of challenges or problems. They have their level of problems that they are fighting. It will not be the same. We are all not at the same level, but trust me, every single person has a problem they are dealing with, right? And the good thing is that when you share the lessons, like watching that interview alone gave me a lot of inspiration. Now I think about opportunity instead of obligation just because I watched that, right? There are people who are also so close to my journey, like the reason that video resonated with me is because these are things that I'm thinking about already. So when I watched it, I could appreciate it. And now I believe that there are people who are also so close to where I am or where I am aiming to be, or the things that I've gone through. There are people who are currently going through, such that if I use the opportunity to also share my experiences and the things that I learn with them, they're going to get a lot of benefit from it. So now I see this opportunity, like being able to create this video in itself is an opportunity, because not everybody gets it. Maybe I don't get paid for doing it and I'm just documenting it, even if nobody watches, right? But at the end of the day, I didn't see it as an obligation, because usually when you see it as an obligation, especially when we get caught up in content creation, and it's like the algorithm expects you to create content every single day, so you just need to create content for creating content's sake, it becomes so difficult. And that is the obligation mindset. So I want to challenge you to also start thinking about whatever you're doing as an opportunity. You get the opportunity to do things, you get the opportunity to help people, you get the opportunity to impact lives. And something just came to mind. I'll write it down, and tomorrow's video I'll talk about it. But hey, it's almost skipped my mind. I need to sit down and remember what I was going to write. But yeah, these were the three important things that I wrote down for today. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to share that on camera. If you enjoyed it and you're following the journey, note that I have committed to documenting my life, the way I think, and the things that I learn, documenting it publicly on this channel. So if you come across this video and you want to see more of it, you want to join me on the journey of staying consistent, then make sure you follow for the journey. Feel free to reach out to me, leave a comment, ask a question, send me some form of motivation, because as you know, it's not easy. It's not easy to be consistent. Today is day 4. Today I was motivated actually to do this video because there was so much more that these 3 things that I wrote down has done for me that I wanted to share with you. That is the opportunity and the privilege that I have, and I'm happy to impact you with the little that I've learned. So I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Please feel free to reach out, as I said, or leave a comment, and I'll respond to you. Thank you.